You are winning in business, but something still feels off. The clients that come in aren't quite right, too small, too price sensitive maybe, too demanding for the margin that they bring, not the kind of work that really energizes the team. And you've tried to fix it, for sure. You did better targeting, different messaging, a new campaign, and the same type of client keeps showing up. And here's what I want to say. This is not a marketing problem. This is typically always something that lives upstream of marketing. And until you fix that layer, the wrong clients will keep finding you. Welcome to Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I'm Shelly Hughes. In this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and ugly of building a passionate, profitable company. Everything we talk about here is directly from the challenges we see in clients every single day. They're successful companies, growing companies, but the leaders I work with, they've built something really real, but something is just off. There's a stalling of growth or something that's happening. What we do is we come in, we help diagnose it with the tools and the Unearth method we have. And a lot of these stories are coming through this podcast that I'm excited to share with you today. And so let's get into this whole wrong client or wrong customer situation and what it actually costs. So the wrong clients aren't just an annoyance. They are incredibly expensive. Cody Sanchez said this very wonderfully before, where she said that we all have audience segments, right? But we only have one ideal audience, and most likely they're also our richest audience. And we can get into if that's good or bad, whatever. But I completely agree with everything she says, because a lot of times the wrong clients, they're so expensive because they cost time that your team should be spending on the best clients, energy the team spends managing expectations and delivering that exceptional value that I know that you want, margin because difficult clients rarely pay a premium, referrals, wrong clients send more wrong clients, which I have experienced firsthand, where our best referring client was also the client that we just did not want to work with anymore. And they always sent us the same type of client that they were. And morale, nothing drains a team faster than work that just doesn't fit. And so there's also a very hidden cost within this that I see all the time. Every wrong client that you take, it takes away from the right client that you just don't have capacity for. And that's not just capacity in the work you do, but capacity in actually finding that right client and nurturing the right client. So most companies tolerate wrong clients because here's the thing, revenue is revenue. It depends on the business for sure. But I've heard a lot of different positions about this. A good friend of mine, he owns an insurance company, and he said straight up that when he started just saying no to certain people and certain clients, his business exploded. On the other hand, I work with a lot of scrappy investors, scrappy business leaders, and they say, hey, we're in a position where revenue is revenue, and especially if it's recurring revenue, like subscription type revenue, what's for us to say that we shouldn't be doing it, right? I also have friends that run businesses that are lawyers, and they're like, hey, I'm the one that has to be doing all of the legal work legally. The paralegals can't do what the lawyers can do. So they have to be very particular in who they bring on as a client and the kind of work that they do, because they only have a certain amount of capacity. So they're looking at a business like mine and saying, take all the business you can because money is money. And as a law firm, they don't have the ability to do that. This whole idea of revenue makes sense, and I've lived it for sure. But at the same time, the wrong client revenue, from everything I've gathered, is actually stalling growth. Every wrong client that you take is a right client that you just don't have room to acquire or to serve. We were a marketing firm back in the day. And a lot of times what we saw was we were brought in to fix marketing problems when we realized this is not a marketing problem at all. And so I want to let you know that fixing the marketing isn't what's going to fix this problem. And the instinct is to change the targeting, a different audience, a different message, a different channel. And sometimes that helps, but typically only temporarily. And the other thing I see is that we try to move so quickly as business leaders that we almost don't give certain campaigns and certain targets enough time to really mature, right? Because we're like, oh, that didn't work. It's been 6 months. Let's move on to the next thing. And I think as business leaders, we see a lot of quick, rapid growth in a lot of our colleagues, a lot of our friends on social media. And at least I felt this way until I got out of my own head. It was like, why can't I grow that fast? And here's two things I realized. One, I don't necessarily want to grow that fast for many different reasons. Foundationally, if I grew that fast, I knew that I would have to spend less time with my family. To do that, I would have to spend all my time on hiring and not in the work I actually love to do, at least until you get to a point where you can outsource all that kind of stuff. But I think that we try to change things so much because we have this shiny object in our head of what we want to be. Okay, this isn't working, let's move on. This isn't working, let's move on. And that's okay, and I think it's really important, but it's not going to get us to that long-term generational wealth, typically, unless you're the exception to the rule. But if the upstream problem hasn't been solved, the wrong clients follow you basically to the new channel. And here's why. Your marketing is working, your sales is probably working, it's attracting people who respond to what you're saying. And the problem is what you're saying and who you're saying it to. And that is set at the commercial strategy level and not the marketing execution level or not the sales execution level. And so 3 upstream problems that I have seen produce the wrong clients. One is unclear positioning. So it's unclear positioning where your message is too broad that too many people think they're a fit. And I've seen this with Alex Hormozy. I've seen this with so many people that I really respect and trust. Their whole thing is like riches are in the niches. It's so hard. Most of the companies we work with have been around for 25 years, 30 years, 45 years. They're very mature companies that have very expanded services, and a lot of those serve different types of segments. And sometimes when you just get started, it's very easy to find a niche, right? You find one thing and you're in the middle, right? This is our niche. It's very small. Articulated as I'm going to turn a pond into a puddle. Like, how can I make this a puddle? And then when you scale, you can scale up, you can scale down, meaning you can scale up to richer people, you can scale down to one to many, you can scale laterally to different industries and things like that. But I think when we see a stalling of growth for companies who have been around for a really long time, they have already done that scaling, but they haven't done it in a really strategic way. So they're not really known for any one thing. And they don't really know who their rich client is. So it's that unclear positioning that is really challenging for a lot of these different clients. And the other thing I think about is that undefined ideal client. Again, everyone has a lot of different segments, but you only have one richest client. And so you've never formally decided who your best buyer is. So everyone basically gets a shot. And then it's understanding what your offer is for that person. What is your guarantee for that person? Not the deliverable you're going to give, but what is actually the offer? What is their perceived value of that offer? We were just talking about perceived value to a client recently. They thought they had a retention problem, but in reality, they had an acquisition problem because they were going after the wrong client that would never have been happy in the first place. And so we think about the offer that they have, and you have to be very specific with that offer because it has to be very specific to one particular type of person. And the third is misaligned acquisition targeting. And so basically it's like messaging and positioning is number one, I see. Undefined ideal target and the offer, or ideal client and the offer for that ideal client is second thing. And then misaligned acquisition targeting and basically lead generation. That's the third. You're going after volume instead of fit, and the wrong seats are filling up. And look, use Zoom Info, use all these different things for sure. There are so many ways to get new business. But if you do that spray tactic, you have to realize that you're going to have to do some weeding through once the person actually comes in. And so the wrong clients aren't finding you by accident. You're positioning yourself and inviting them in, probably by accident. So the upstream clarity that needs to exist. Let's talk about that. Before sales can close, before marketing can attract the right clients, the business needs to answer 3 questions very clearly. Who is our richest and best client, really? Who is it? Not who we've served, who we want more of. I'm getting into a growth engine series over the next couple episodes, so we'll get into this in depth, but we do this customer analysis tool where we basically say over the last, 18 to 24 months, what are all the clients that have closed? What are the new clients that have closed and you've served? and you talk about their industry, their size, their stage, what kind of leaders inside the company, where they are, like all these different things. And then you realize what problem did they come in with and what does success look like for them and really for us. And sometimes we do this and we realize, we say, okay, within this, who's your ideal client? Clients, none of them are our ideal client. And that's a big red flag for us because that's telling me that we're going to have to completely shift markets, completely shift whatever we've been doing. And that's a much bigger overhaul. So I had a client that they were a service-based B2B client, or it was B2B. They were thinking, maybe we want to go B2C. And we said, okay, that's an idea, but you have built this business as B2B for so long that you're going to have to completely rethink your messaging, completely rethink your pricing, completely rethink your acquisition strategy, completely rethink your customer service, right? You're going to be a completely different business if you realize that you're B2B. And I think there's an opportunity here in B2C. Again, which is fine, but you have to realize what you're getting into. The second upstream clarity that needs to happen is the problem that we solve and for whom specifically. Broad messaging attracts really broad interest, or it attracts no interest at all because no one can really identify if this is for them or not. Specific positioning really attracts specific buyers. So I'm done chasing leads. I tell my clients this all the time. We're done chasing leads. I want to attract buyers. And that's why we only look at people who have purchased from you the last 18, 24 months, whatever it is, not just the leads that you've gathered, because leads means nothing to us. The narrower the problem you name, the more qualified the people who respond. And so from this, then you have to ask yourself, what does a good fit actually look like? What does a bad fit look like? And your bad fit should be 100 pages long and your good fit should be like half a page. Most companies know their best clients really intuitively, but few have really written it down clearly for sales and marketing to use it as a filter, or then for marketing to then build a message and brand around it. And so until these three are answered, it's the who's your best and richest client, what is the problem that we solve and for who specifically, and what does a good fit actually look like, and more importantly, a bad fit. Until these questions are answered, marketing and sales are just guessing who to talk to. I see it all the time. Sales goes out and tries to collect as many leads as they can. And a lot of times because they're probably on commission based and they just want to get a quick sale. And that's the issue with commission, right? It's such short-sighted. But the whole point of this is that broad positioning is not inclusive. It's actually quite expensive. And the right people don't see themselves in it, typically, because they don't think it's for them. And so let's talk about what changes when you really get this right. First of all, when an ideal client is clearly defined and a positioning is very specific, marketing stops attracting everyone and starts attracting the right ones. Sales spends less time disqualifying and more time closing. The team does work that they're actually energized by. Referrals improve, like I said before, because the right clients send the right clients. And margins improve because the right clients understand the value because they're also your richest clients. So this is not about turning away business carelessly. That's not it at all. It's about being clear enough about who you're for and what's the wrong fit, because the wrong fit then will self-select out before they ever really call you. And so this is what good positioning does, and it repels as powerfully as it attracts. Great positioning isn't just attracting the right clients, it quietly turns away the wrong ones before they even really get to you. So here's the thing, if you're winning in business but something still feels off, before you change the campaign, the channel, the creative, anything like that, ask the upstream questions. Who did we actually decide that we're for? Is that decision written down somewhere? Does sales know it? Does marketing know it? Does leadership know it? Can everyone on your team describe your best client in the same way and so specifically, right? You can't just say B2B. Or we can't just say, I had a client one time, I said, our team was asking, who's your ideal client? And they said, anyone with a body. Okay, cool. We have a lot to work on. If not everyone on your team can describe this person the same way you can, that's where the wrong client's really most likely coming from. It's not from bad targeting. It's from a decision that was never made clearly enough to act on. And you don't attract the wrong clients because your marketing is broken or your sales is broken. You attract them because you haven't been clear enough to your entire team and to your outside audience who the right ones are and who you're not for. So I hope that was helpful. I think, again, in this podcast, we talk a lot about the problems we see coming in with clients every single day. And if this is something that you relate to, please send me a DM. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear pushback, anything like that, because every client's all slightly different. Also, the thing is, the algorithm loves when you follow shows like this. So if you like this episode, please give us a follow, because it really helps get this into more earbuds, because I think this is just really valuable, honestly, case studies that I think a lot of business leaders can utilize. So I think that's it for today. Thanks so much.